Thanks very much for staying with us. Time now for Eye on Africa with me, Georgia Smith. Tonight, officials in Lesotho are looking into why armed soldiers were deployed at polling stations during the weekend's vote. Vote counting is underway, though, for a poll that was still conducted peacefully, despite recent insecurity in the country. Also, candidates in the running for Kenya's general elections in August have been drumming up support. Amongst them is an anti-corruption activist, Boniface Mwangi, who's campaigning to join the system he once denounced. And 30,000 South Sudanese remain in displacement camps behind rebel lines. They stayed hoping to look after the crops and cattle that are their livelihoods. But as violence runs on, many have run out of food in areas where delivery of aid is politically charged. Our correspondent reports. But first, vote counting's underway in Lesotho after the weekend's general election, the country's third since 2012. Foreign observers have described Saturday's poll as largely peaceful, despite questions having been raised over the deployment of armed soldiers at polling stations. The country's been rocked by attempted coups and instability over the last 5 years or so, and the army's often been accused of interfering in politics. The election's seen as a two-horse race between old rivals and former Prime Ministers Pakalita Mosisili and Thomas Tabane. Results are due later this week. In the meantime, we've got Ashlyn Lang, who's bringing us more. Ashlyn, so do we know more about why the decision was taken to deploy soldiers to voting booths?
Well, certainly it's not clear, and nobody has taken responsibility for the deployment of those soldiers. Colleagues who questioned the soldiers outside polling stations were told that they were there to support the electoral process. However, the Electoral Commission has said that they certainly hadn't requested their presence and they weren't happy about it. SADC, Southern African Development Community, the regional body that has been trying to sort Lesotho out, has said it's very concerned about it and will be seeking answers as to why they were deployed. From the opposition's point of view, they say it was a clear attempt at intimidation. It seems that the most likely candidate to win is Thomas Tabane. He is no friend of the military. He has been chased out of the country by them previously through coups, and he says that he fears if he does win, he will not be allowed to continue to take office.
Ashley, the weakness of the government is one of the issues that's fed into instability Lesotho's seen recently. Is the outcome of the election, one way or the other, likely to change that?
Well, it really depends who wins, and it really depends how much pressure is brought to bear on them. There are a number of people who have an interest, a number of countries, nations that have an interest in Lesotho being stable. The first being South Africa. It has played a predominant part in the SADC negotiations towards a roadmap for peace. The person leading those negotiations is Cyril Ramaphosa, the South African deputy president, who hopes to become its president at the end of this year. So for him, you know, the stakes are high and he will really want to be seeing a result in this. Mosisili, the current president, if he wins, has reluctantly said that, you know, he will try and implement some of the SADC reforms, which include military reform, taking the military out of politics, actually strengthening the hand of the monarchy to give a bit of a check to these warring political parties. Whether he will follow through with that promise, it's hard to know. If Tabane wins, he said he doesn't know if the military will let him stay in power. Another big broker in the region, however, is the US. They they have a free trade agreement with Lesotho that supports a textile industry that's critical to the country for jobs, given it's a region of high unemployment as it is. So the stakes are high for them also to be continuing there.
Thanks very much, Ashlyn. In other news, Jacob Zuma's denied allegations that an influential family has brought him a retirement home in Dubai. South Africa's Sunday Times newspapers reported that several independent sources have claimed that the Gupta family had purchased the property for the South African president. The country's anti-graft watchdog has called for an investigation into suspicions of influence peddling in Zuma's government by the Gupta family. They own a business empire with contracts with state-owned firms and have denied accusations of having had a hand in appointing ministers to Zuma's cabinet. Somali militant group Al-Shabaab's claimed responsibility for the fatal bombing of a police station in the country's southern port city of Kismayu. Security services say that one policeman died in Monday's attack, but the extremist group claims the toll was higher. Al-Shabaab was deprived of a key source of funds after it lost control of Kismayo in 2012. Now, candidates in the running for Kenya's general elections in August have been drumming up support. Amongst them is an anti-corruption activist who's campaigning to join a system that he once denounced.
Anti-corruption activist Boniface Mwangi is famous for his headline-grabbing stunts, like burning fake coffins outside Parliament to denounce impunity. The 33-year-old son of a street hawker has often been detained after such protests. But now he's decided to change the system from the inside, and he wants to win a parliamentary seat next August. Mwangi is busy campaigning.
In Kenya, you're guilty until proven rich. As long as you're rich, you'll never go to jail. In Kenya, you don't even have to hire a lawyer. Where would you hire a lawyer? You buy the judge. The judiciary is a scarecrow. They just scare people, but they never do anything.
Even President Uhuru Kenyatta, who seeks re-election in August, acknowledged last year that his administration has been slow to tackle corruption. But government officials say prosecutions have more than doubled these last 4 years.
Today, we have over 500 criminal case files and over 1,000 people in court. We have over 700 asset recovery suits also.
Embezzlement is a major problem in Kenya. Just last month, the US suspended $21 million of funding to Kenya's Ministry of Health due to concerns over corruption. Boniface Mwangi has publicly declared his assets and taxes to try and sway voters, and he's challenged his rivals to do the same.
Well, over 3 years into their country's civil war, and almost 1 million South Sudanese, mostly from the southern region of Equatoria, have fled to Uganda. But around 30,000 remain in displacement camps behind rebel lines in Georja County. Now, they stayed hoping to look after the crops and cattle that are their livelihoods, but as the violence and instability runs on, many have now run out of food. Delivery of aid to this part of the country is difficult and politically charged, as our Simona Foltin found out.
Selina Poni came to this camp for internally displaced in rebel-held Georja after government soldiers killed 2 of her relatives. She now takes care of their orphan children. But to get food, Selina and her husband must make the dangerous trip back to their farm, crossing through contested areas.
There's nothing to eat here. No one is giving us food. So we have no choice but to go looking for food. If you come back alive, you're thankful. But if you're killed, you'll never be seen again.
Until end of last year, Georja County was a relatively peaceful agricultural area. But recent violence has displaced tens of thousands of people, preventing farmers from planting and causing hunger to spread. Most civilians from Georja County have fled to neighboring Uganda, just a few kilometers south of here. But thousands have also taken refuge behind rebel lines in camps like these. While there is relative safety, people are quickly running out of things to eat. And although they've been here for months, aid organizations have yet to distribute food. Relief efforts like this are an unusual sight in opposition-held Georja. The NGO distributing these seeds does so without the government's official approval and doesn't want to be named. Since the beginning of the year, the government has blocked several aid convoys from coming here.
There's no food supply to the camps. There's no proper services. Though there are a number of NGOs that have been working or intervened, but there are a little bit of control somewhere, also from the government side.
Rebel authorities appeal to aid agencies for more aid to civilians in their areas. Given the widespread grassroots support for the opposition, some of that aid will inevitably make its way into the soldiers' hands. But if help doesn't arrive soon, these people too will have no option but to join the almost 1 million South Sudanese who have already left to Uganda.
That report by Simona Foltin. Well, that's it for Iron Africa for now. Thanks very much for joining us. Do so again. Take care.